Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do the reading for the full moon total lunar eclipse that's taking place in Scorpio on the 16th of May. So for those of you who are interested in more of the astrology around this full moon total lunar eclipse, there will be an astrology part of this. This is the first part of the reading because I do the tarot reading around the energies and I also do the astrology around the energies as well. For those of you who haven't been to my channel before, that's how it works at the moment, but things could change. So that's really what I'm focusing on for now, is just the full moons and the new moon energies. So this full moon is a big energy. It's intense and it's going to really change the way that we live our lives in many ways. There's so much that is going to be different after we get to the end. Lunar eclipse or eclipse energies in general last for about 6 months, and the effects that it can have during those 6 months can last way into the next year as well. So I personally think that this energy isn't going to stop until Pluto eventually leaves Capricorn, which is taking place in 2023. And the reason that I think that is because this is part of this energy. The full moon energy total lunar eclipse is taking place in Scorpio. The ruler is Pluto himself. So I think that that's where we're heading. It's like this is the domino effect that is going to start pushing all the other dominoes down, so to speak. And again, if you're interested in the reasons why I think that and the astrology around that, then there will be an astrology reading put out. In the meantime, thank you very much for coming over to view my channel and to see what it is that I do. I am a tarot reader with over 30 years experience, and I like to do a collective reading for the full moon and the new moon energies, because I think it's very important that we kind of have some understanding of what's taking place above us and how it's affecting us below as well. So there is a very strong correlation and connection between the planets and our lives, and one of the best ways I feel is to use astrology and tarot as a tool to understand how that all works and how it all comes together. So I'm going to read one of these angel script cards. In fact, I might read two because two of them have just jumped out, and this is how I normally start my readings for those of you who haven't been here before. We have Raphael and Raphael, the two angel energies that have come out as supports for us during this full moon total lunar eclipse. So let's see what they have to say. Raphael came out first. So Raphael is love. Very beautiful energy. So it offers unconditional love and compassion. This archangel brings with it the gentle but powerful grace of the cosmic mother, who protects and cares for all her children. We are nurtured and blessed in a cradle of love and encouraged to go forward and learn to walk without fear. When we stumble, Mother catches us. Mother blesses our lives and our journey, never seeking to hold us but always welcoming our return. This love is our entitlement. It is a grace which waits patiently for us to creep into its arms. When our lives seem desolate, it is because we have forgotten how much we are loved. We have closed the shutters on the sunshine which seeks to warm us. The door to the human heart has to be opened from the inside. Raphael is the angel of the rose, which unfolds its perfection to show us the depth of its heart. Here all manner of pain is healed and washed away by an ocean of boundless love. This love does not measure us, nor does it ask us to achieve perfection. When we are drawn into it, we discover that we are already perfect, and that all our trying has been a vain attempt to emulate the love which offers itself freely. Raphael brings a wordless song of love and freedom, love which is endless, and the freedom which is offered unconditionally to those who love freely. And this is one of the things about this full moon total lunar eclipse in Scorpio as well, is it's a big purging and releasing of a lot of emotional baggage that we have been carrying for a long time. I'm kind of seeing it as a purging of purgatory. So for the time that we've kind of been in this kind of self-made kind of purgatory, kind of hell of our own inner making, our emotional prison, if you like, this is a time of cleansing out and clearing, and it's going to be huge all over the world. It's going to be a massive global purging, shifting energy that we're going to experience over these coming 6 to 7 months. So the next card we have here is Raphael, and I believe Raphael is healing. Yeah, so we've got love and healing, two very beautiful energies, and this is really what it's all about. It's like ultimately it is even the pain that we have to go through is going to bring us into this place of love through the healing. And interestingly as well, at this time we do actually have Venus and Chiron together in the sky as well, and Chiron is the healing planet. It is the healer of our deep wounds, and Venus of course is love as well. So it is about self-love because it's taking place in Aries as well. So it's about learning to love ourselves, our self-worth, and healing ourselves because we are worth healing. We are worthy of that love and worthy of that healing. So Raphael is the divine physician who brings comfort and healing to those who are lost on their path. Its task is to reassure and to bring us back into harmony when we are unsettled and perplexed. Raphael brings understanding and a cleansing of the heart so that we move forward refreshed. It allows us to take our rest and dress our wounds. It soothes pain and anoints the troubled brow with the elixir of life. Raphael casts out negativity, holds our hands, and patiently encourages us in our purpose. When we are weary from travelling and feel that our intentions have been thwarted, and there's a lot of that energy around at the moment, feeling as though we're not being able to do what we really want to do, and having been held back and held down and blocked off, and just stopped from being able to be who we are. Raphael is able to cast out doubt and renew hope. Often we find ourselves on a path which seems to lead nowhere. We may see the landmarks time and again and feel we cannot move forward. Raphael comes to support us and offers fresh insights. Raphael's purpose is to encourage growth and create the new by realigning us. To this end, Raphael may be instrumental in the bringing together of souls who need to be united in a common purpose. Raphael presides over weddings and blesses the bride and groom. In order to maintain the creative vision, the divine continually seeks equilibrium. The manifest world requires a flowing in and out, up and down, of opposing energies. Sometimes the smoothly running river becomes a choppy sea. Raphael pours oil on the waters so that they settle into an even pattern of ebb and flow. Raphael reconciles and brings all things back to grace. So two very beautiful cards to start with, and it's quite interesting because the very centre cards of this tarot reading kind of have a touch of both of those about them. And seeing as I've got two cards to put up here now, I'm going to have to open it up and do it. Oh, I might turn it round actually, bear with me. Let's see if I can do it like that. Is it going to stay? Yes, there we go. That's better. Right. So, the cards behind me, by the way, are the Scorpio energy for the lunar eclipse. I transform. Pluto is all about transformation, soul evolution. The 8th house is endings and beginnings, as well as lots of other like creation, destruction, all those kind of things as well. The water element is the sensing element, which is Scorpio, is a water sign. And lastly, we have the lunar eclipse energy, which is itself all about change. That's what eclipses do. They change our direction. They change the path that we're on. They bring things into an alignment, rather than like if we're off doing something else, like on a collective level as well. If we're not really on the path that we're meant to be on, collectively going down, then that eclipse energy will shift us into another path, another journey to take back to where we should be, is usually what the eclipse energy does. So I'm starting the reading here with the Page of Wands, and it's covered by the Page of Cups. So this, I feel, is that kind of Raphael healing energy as well, and this is the kind of new energy, the pushing forward into something. But with the Page of Wands in reverse, it's kind of saying there is resistance here to actually moving forward at this time. Both pages, young energy, so it feels like it is a time of newness that is coming in, but we're not quite ready to take that leap, perhaps, into that unknown, into the new, into a new creative endeavour in our lives. But there is this healing, and this, I feel, is the Pluto, sorry, gone again, is the Pluto energy, because this is also water. So this is the emotional space. With the pages, it's a young, like a tender energy, like an energy that needs to be nurtured and taken care of and looked after, and that's kind of how I'm seeing this energy here as well. It's like the two of them coming together. It's like nurturing a part of ourselves with this Page of Wands that hasn't been allowed to be healed. And this could be that creative drive, that spirit, that inspiration that has been held back, tied down, tethered, forced into doing something other than it wants to be doing, going where it really doesn't want to be going, but is kind of feeling that that's where it has to go because everything else is kind of pushing it in that direction, but that doesn't mean it's the right direction. So there's kind of like a halt energy here, like something that kind of feels like something is putting a block in the way, but that block in the way is for the reason of healing something within ourselves, possibly discovering something within ourselves as well. There's something very yeah, because it's very green and it's very lush. There's something very nurturing about this energy. Something very caring, self-care, taking care of our own emotional needs and our own emotional wants. Being kind to ourselves, because this is the crossing energy here. So this is our challenge. Our challenge is to be good to ourselves, because it's always so much easier to want to reach out and help others and heal others, which is kind of how I see these two trees in the background here as well. They're kind of reaching out across that water here, which represents the emotions, and they're kind of leaning towards each other. But really, the most important thing here is this character who needs to heal his own his own wounds in order to be able to move forward. Until he's healed his own wounds, he's not going to be able to move forward, or we're not going to be able to move forward. But it does feel like there's a kind of, like a new path that is opening up. Or it's on the verge. We're on the verge of something here, it feels like. This could also be the Jupiter energy. Jupiter that has now moved into Aries as well. Fire, young energy, Aries, the beginnings, starting of something fresh, something new, something creative, dynamic, action-orientated energy. But it feels as though, first of all, we have to go through this emotional, like, healing or purging energy. What's in our head at this time and what we are aware of is the Five of Pentacles here. And the Five of Pentacles, if you can see here, he's walking away from something. He's kind of undercover. He's kind of realizing that he has to move, I suppose in some ways, move forward. He has to kind of leave the safety and the sanctuary, which is this place here. The safety and the sanctuary of what it is that he knows. What feels like his comfort zone. He's having to step away from it. He's to be able to grow and to learn more. Because that's another thing about page energy as well, is it's immature and it needs to experience life in order to be able to grow and understand more about itself. Or about ourselves. And we can only do that through experience, through actually taking risks and trying things, and whether they work out or whether they don't work out, it's like we have actually put ourselves out there for the experience. We've gained something by actually taking the action to do it just by itself. And this is interesting as well, because that sun, or that moon, should I say, up there has this, like the crescent, there we go. If you can see that, it almost looks like a kind of eclipse energy in a way as well. But it's that kind of leaving something that is no longer going to help in our soul expansion, is what I'm being told. Like soul expansion, it's like, yeah, comfort zone energy, having to push beyond that comfort zone to leave the familiar. Even if we don't want to let go of something, it's like there is something within us that is saying, you know you need to do that. You know you need to walk away from that. You know you need to let that go. Because otherwise, you're just going to stagnate. You're going to stay, because it's a 5 as well. So it's like halfway through to the 10. So it is that kind of comfort zone before you push into the next, like the final leg of something, if you like. And the past energy we have here is the 8, of Swords in reverse. And the 8 of Swords is a card of self-entrapment in many ways. But in this particular deck, it also has like the Furies on one side, and it's got the god Apollo figure standing on the other side, and like being trapped between two forces is how it's feeling. And not knowing not knowing how to escape, not knowing how to remove ourselves from that situation. I mean, it does look very much like what we've just experienced for these last 2 years. Like authority on both sides of us, not being able to kind of make up our own mind, or being able to have the freedom to change the situation. Feeling of despair as well. And also a feeling of, because of the Furies as well, I mean, the Furies are a very personal kind of mental kind of insanity in a way. That's what they represent. In Greek mythology, the Furies, when they were unleashed, they were unleashed to cause as much mental trouble, like in somebody's head, like drive somebody mad within their own head. So somebody else could be seeing things completely different on the outside and not understanding why this person is going through all this mental agony in many ways. Of feeling as though they can't move forward, they can't move backwards, they're trapped in this place of confinement. Again, it's that kind of mental prison. But the thing about the Eight of Swords, and the reason why I said that it is self-entrapment, is because there is always a way out. I mean, he's only got to turn around and look behind, and there's nothing there. There's nothing to stop that person from being able to leave that situation. But it is, in a way, giving our power away to the authorities, or to the feeling that we can't do anything, like the helplessness, that there is no other choice. We have no other choice. All our choices have been taken away from us, so therefore we have to do what is put in front of us. So that's the energy that has been around but is moving away. And then on the subconscious, deeper rooted level of what we're not so aware of, we have the Two of Cups, and this came through as a really interesting energy. Normally it would be about attraction and relationships within attraction, but today it has come through with this kind of this feeling of victimhood in a way, because she's kind of on this rock waiting to be saved. If I turn it up this way, you can see it better. She's kind of bound. She's actually been put on the rock as a sacrifice. That's why she's there. She's being given to a sea beast. So she's bound and tied, and she can't escape. And it kind of fits in with this energy in a way as well. The feeling of not being able to escape and needing somebody else to help us out of the situation. But this is what I think is kind of changing. This is this kind of victim energy of not being able to help ourselves, or not being, like, needing a savior, needing somebody outside of ourselves who's going to come in and kind of take over and protect us and look after us, whether that's in a relationship or whether that's just collectively as a whole, kind of like, you know, the world is waiting for this saving energy to kind of enter and to help us out, whatever that may be. This today has come through for me as saying, you know, we have to do that for ourselves, but because it's in reverse, we're still in that process of learning how to be our own saviors, if you like, how to give ourselves self-love, so that we don't end up as the victim. Because this cup is there again as well. Right, anyway, so the energy that's moving forward, as we move forward, the energy that's coming towards us is the Seven of Pentacles. And often this energy is seen as an energy of like harvesting, rewards after a period of time. In this deck, it's kind of shown as having to make a choice. Like she's offering him something and he doesn't know whether what she's offering him, i.e. that pentacle there, is actually going to benefit his life, whether it's something that is actually worth taking her up on, whether the offer is valid. Whether it's, again, it's kind of like there is an unknown quantity within this card as well, which is kind of where the dilemma comes from, because he doesn't know. I mean, he's left the safety of his home here with the 5, which is what's in our head and what we're aware of, and he's ended up here on his journey, and he's now being given an offer kind of totally out of the blue as well. It's not something that he was expecting to happen. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, as we release that old energy, this is the new energy coming in. This is the new opportunities coming towards us. But we're kind of like hesitant. Again, with this Page of Wands as well, it's Page of Wands in reverse. There's a hesitancy about being ready. Are we ready? Are we mature enough? Are we emotionally ready for this? And there's a kind of feeling of ready or not, it's coming. Whether we're ready, whether we're not ready, it's coming our way. And this is also on a collective level, I feel, as well. A dilemma between the old and the new as well. The unknown and the already kind of walked path. And it's kind of bringing like the North and the South Node energy to mind for me here as well, because the South Node is the energy that is very much in play at the time of this lunar total eclipse. And the South Node is all about letting go, releasing the old that's no longer working for us. It's no longer, yeah, it's an energy that we're not going to get anything else out of. It's like it's done. So we need to let go of that energy in order to be able to make space for something new, like with this offer here. If we have too much on our plate, like with these 6 of coins here, it's like if we have too much already kind of in the background or in our lives, or too much, in a way, baggage or things that we're working on, or things that it's like something has to go, something has to be let go of and released in order for this new energy to be able to grow and expand on that and focus our attention on that, without all of the connotations from the past as well. And we have that pentacle here, right there. And we also have the Six of Wands in reverse. And again, we have this kind of follow through here, because here he's got this golden fleece. And this is where the story kind of begins for the golden fleece. The golden fleece being kind of an aspect of our own nature in a way as well. I mean, it's Aries energy. Again, that kind of new fiery dynamic. So with the Six of Wands in reverse and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, there's this feeling of it feels like something's not being recognized, because the Six of Wands is normally about victory. It's about having a victory, reaching the goal that you set out to reach. You've got to that point. It's not a final ending, because there's more yet to come after that, because in this particular card he then has to get back home to where he came from. So it's an initial kind of victory. It feels good. He's done what he set out to do, so he can celebrate it. But when it's in reverse, it feels like something is not feeling victorious, something isn't feeling like a victory. And with this Ace of Pentacles here, again, it feels like this sense of like not really certain about this opportunity, about this struggle. And it's also coming through as well as a time of like a time of less, of having less than we're used to. And having to be careful how we spend our money, how we create new opportunities. Because on some level it feels as though this victory card in reverse is kind of saying that things that we have known and that have been easy for us in the past, it's almost like it feels like something drying up, like a sense of something that we've depended on, or that we always thought would be there in a way. It just feels like, instead of abundance, it feels like a shrinkage, like something is shrinking, something isn't as it appears. Something isn't going to be as easy and like easily victorious. And this card should be round that way because that's the way they came out. But there's something isn't going to be as easily reached or as victorious as we would have thought it was going to be. And it is around money, finances, how we view our finances, not having as much as we normally would is the message that I'm getting quite strongly here. Not having as much, whether that's financial or just in general, kind of having to pull the purse strings in, having to cut back on certain things that we would normally take for granted. And there's also a sense here of like, you know, you put your time and your energy and effort into something, but the reward is not what you're expecting or what you want it to be or how you feel it should be. And then we have the Hermit, in the place of the collective conscious awareness, I like to call this. And the Hermit, literally he's shrouded in all of these, I often see it as a kind of mummified kind of energy. Very little can be seen of this particular character. It's like he doesn't want to be seen because he is going through this transformational phase himself. The scythe kind of represents things that do need to be cut out, cut away. Often people see this as Virgo energy. In this deck of cards, I actually see it more as this kind of Scorpio Pluto type of energy. Because it is about kind of going within. It is working with the shadow, the Hermit energy, and lighting your own light here, being your own light, your own outer light, your own inner light, guiding yourself on your path, not depending on other people for your needs or your wants or your victories or your, and it's kind of like a new way of doing things as well is coming through here as we cut through what no longer works for us. And also the card itself is quite barren as well, as I was saying, that kind of feeling of like having less, of it being kind of, I mean, that card is very abundant. There's an abundance there in that card, but when you look at this card, it's very grey. There's no growth on the ground. It's all very stony, harsh, hard. I mean, it can also kind of be seen as Saturn energy as well, like Father Time with the scythe as well. Cutting through, cutting out the past, cutting out, you know, kind of like cutting off certain things in our lives that may still be energetically attached to us somehow, but they're not adding to anything. So we need to cut ourselves away from them. And in our hopes and our fears, we have the Four of Pentacles. And this card kind of sums it all up in many ways, because it is like holding on to something, hoarding something, holding on to the past for fear of not receiving any more. For fear of like, if I let go of that past story, then I have nothing else. It's kind of like, I see it kind of like, how can I put it? What's the best way for me to say this? Like holding on to our past selves, like to that person that we might have been 10 years ago. We're still holding on some level to that person that we were, even though we've changed and we've grown and we've had different life experiences. There's still something that is kind of still attached to that time when we were that individual, we were that person. Even though we've outgrown that energy, it's no longer relevant even in our lives. There can still be this fear of just letting that go. Because when we let something go, it can feel like there's an empty space. But that empty space gives us the opportunity for something new to come in. That's when the opportunities arise, is when we let go, when we have the courage within ourselves to face those fears and let go of what no longer is relevant, because we've outgrown it, because we've moved beyond it. And that's kind of what the Hermit energy is saying for me there as well. And then lastly, we had the Five of Swords come out, and then it was followed by 3 other cards. But the Five of Swords to me is an energy of authority, again, kind of being told that this is your destiny, if you like. This is like, you know, you have to do this because it fits in with everything else, which isn't your path. That's not your path. If you see there, he's kind of looking up at this god Apollo, who's kind of towering above him as this giant authority figure who's pointing his finger and telling him that he has to go and do something that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to do it. This character here does not want to do it. And yet he feels in many ways, and this is why it leads into this energy here as well, this 8. So it's almost like a loop in a way of kind of continuing that energy. It's like having the choice to do something or not to do it. That choice is in our hands. I also feel that's kind of something to do with this victim energy here as well. Giving our power away. But it's come out with some interesting cards straight after that. We have the Fool in reverse. We have the 8 of Cups in reverse. And we have the Star upright. And this came out to me as, like, again, it's similar to this Page of Wands energy. It's that leap into the unknown with the Fool, but he is in reverse. So again, there's this reluctance to do it. There's this reluctance to go down into the depths of our emotional kind of graveyard, if you like, with the 8 of Cups in reverse, because she's not only walking away from these cups, she's also going down into the very depths of the emotional, yeah, I kind of call it the emotional graveyard, because it's where we kind of bury all this stuff, which is very Scorpionic and very Pluto, kind of underground world where all of our pain and our suffering and our hurts are kind of shoved down so that we can ignore them. And I feel that that is kind of what this is saying collectively. It's like there is this opportunity, again, this kind of new beginning, this new start. But in order for us to get there, we have to go through all of this darkness, if you like. Again, it feels like this purging, this cleansing. It is a cleansing and a purging, but it's of the darkness because it's Scorpionic energy, it's Pluto energy. Again, if you're interested in more of the astrology side of it, I will be putting my astrology video up after I've done this one, which talks more about the actual planets and what they mean and why we're going through what we're going through. But here, with this card, this is what I mean by going through all that, like the crap and the kind of like, bleh, just that bleh kind of energy. The, like, if you see all these beasties, this is Pandora who's opened the box that let out all of the suffering and the pain and the diseases and all the rest of it onto the planet, onto the world. So this, it's kind of saying, you know, we've got to go through this stage to get to this star of hope, which is the healing and the new kind of day dawning, in a way, if you like. The star gives hope. It kind of connects us to our destiny. It kind of also shows us that there's a bigger picture. There is more to our lives than just this here. But sometimes we have to go through all of that, like one thing after another, and just feeling like there's no end in sight. And then at the very bottom of Pandora's box here, we have this beautiful star, which actually has this rainbow as well. And she brings hope, and it's interesting because it's kind of reflected here as well in the water. So it's kind of bringing me back to this energy here, which is that emotional depth, if you like. Because although it looks like it's quite a small surface, I mean, you don't know how far down it goes. How deep is that lake or that well, or, you know, the depth of it, which is again very Scorpio energy, burying something very deep, because Scorpio is known as the kind of well energy, in the sense of it goes down really deep. So deep, in fact, that sometimes even Scorpios don't let themselves or allow themselves to know what they're feeling on some level, because it's too traumatic. And this is what this is kind of saying to me. There's a lot of kind of trauma that we've got to go through as a collective at this time, that is going to come out from this full moon energy, that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to deal with the darkness that has been buried for a long time now. And again, that moon has that kind of look of a kind of eclipse type energy. And the moon, of course, is the emotions as well, and it appears in both these cards here. The moon is our emotional, and they're both quite underworld kind of energies, nighttime, kind of dark, shadowy, that Pluto energy, Scorpio energy, things not necessarily being in the light, that need to come into the light. So let's quickly have a look at these confirmation cards. Let's see what the messages, the deeper messages here for the lunar eclipse. We have the Eight of Cups again. Yeah, that kind of makes sense with the Eight of Cups over the top of these two energies here. Like I was saying, it does feel as though we've got to go through that emotional, emotional graveyard, emotional purging, emotional kind of void, if you like, or what we do avoid, or try to avoid, what we have managed to avoid. But we have to go through it in order to clean it out, cleanse it out for something brighter, something cleansing, healing. Over the top of the Five of Pentacles, we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. So the Knight, both of them are in reverse as well. So the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight. And that's kind of where we're at this time in our heads. It's all feeling very slow. It's all feeling very, are we ever going to get there? Are we ever going to actually find that place of stability within ourselves, within the world, within our relationships? And the Queen of Swords, the Swords is about communication, and when the Queen of Swords is in reverse, she can be very blunt, very harsh, very kind of cuts through things. So there's no kind of pleasantry or conversation about something. It will just be like, this is how it is. She has like an ability to pierce through and get straight to the crux of something, straight to the kind of the core, root core of a problem or of an issue or of a person themselves as well. There is that ability to not kind of beat about the bush with anything, which is kind of something that the Knight of Pentacles does. He's much more slow, he's much more laid back, he's much more easygoing. And when he's in reverse, it's almost like he's kind of like, yeah, like he's just taking time out, basically. Yeah, taking time out, not pushing forward with anything, not moving forward with anything. And it could be because he's needing more information on something, or we're needing more information on something. Some hard truths, blunt truths, some harsh, yeah, cutting. Truths that we may not want to recognize or be open to, in order to be able to move forward with something here. The Queen of Swords in reverse takes no messing. So there could be some, yeah, some kind of cutting conversations, some blunt truths coming out. And this could be on a collective level as well as individually as well, in our like personal lives. Things that we've been holding back on with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, things that we haven't said that we need to say, or is going to come up for us, that are going to have to be spoken about. And because it's Scorpionic energy as well, with this total lunar eclipse, it feels as though it's going to not be easy to accept it perhaps. Yeah, it's just going to be very to the point, like no fluff. No fluff, no kind of like niceties. It's just like bang, this is how it is, bang. And the energy that we have with this Eight of Swords, with the Three of Wands, moving away energy here. The Three of Wands feels like an energy of the ships kind of leaving. It's kind of that sense of standing on the shore, watching the ships leave, possibly after you've got off the boat, or we've got off the boat and we're now kind of standing on the shore, and it feels like kind of new territory, being in a different environment, having taken the risk here with this Eight of Swords, having got ourselves out of that feeling of being trapped and caught and not being able to move forward. There's a sense of moving like a new sense of adventure. Ready for something new, ready to take up these wands here. He's got two wands behind him and he's got this other one in his hand here. So it's kind of like ready to coming through as this kind of like past energy here with these two wands, like the two being the kind of creative decision that's made, the three being the next step, is actually taking that risk, taking that first step after the initial creative idea. You then have to work on that idea, you have to do something about it, you have to take the first steps towards creating that or bringing it to life, to give it more energy, to feed into it so that it can become the vision, the end vision. This is kind of like the beginning of the vision, just coming together. So that again is something that is in the past. And in the subconscious, over the Two of Cups, we have the Empress upright. And I'm seeing it as this, as the kind of opposite force of this energy here, because the Empress totally knows her own worth. There's no victim energy in the Empress whatsoever. So this is that kind of victim energy here. But it kind of feels as though it's transforming into this much kind of stronger and this is Venus as well. So that's interesting because she's holding the Venus symbol in her hand, which of course is the female energy here. For me, it represents Mother Earth. It represents the changes of the seasons. It represents timing, everything in divine timing. You have to wait for the right time for things to come together. But Venus herself has just been through quite a major astrological dance with Mars as well. So there's also this connection here as well, like with the masculine energy here and the feminine energy. And Venus is going through this big healing process with Chiron as well. So there is a healing. It does feel like something is being healed within the feminine dynamic. There is a big healing, and possibly within the masculine and the feminine dynamic, because Chiron is in Aries. Aries the warrior. And these two, like I said, like these two, Venus and Mars, have had this dance that's been ongoing, which was quite a long transit that lasted for about 4 months, I think, in all. That began back in Capricorn and went all the way through to Pisces. And there was retrogrades involved there as well. So there was a lot of coming and going, backwards and forwards. And at the time, it did feel, for me, it did feel as though there was this kind of change in the energy of the Venus or the feminine no longer being kind of dependent on somebody else. Like there was a very strong feeling of a dependency, or sorry, of being independent, of no longer having that dependency or wanting to need to be with somebody for all the wrong reasons, for feeling like you couldn't survive if you weren't with somebody. That kind of energy, that you can go it alone if you have to, that you are strong enough, you have that strength, that inner strength. With the Empress energy here, we have that inner strength. And the feminine energy is kind of the subconscious energy as well. It's the intuition, it's the unknown realm. The Empress is always permanently pregnant with potential as well. That's another thing about the Empress energy. But again, you can't force the divine timing. So it is waiting for that right timing for things to come together. That's interesting because we also have the Fool twice here as well, both times in reverse. That one's not in reverse. Both times in reverse. But he's come out with the Ten of Swords here. Ten of Swords being an ending energy, a completion energy, painful situations. And this is what I feel we're going to experience over these coming 6 months with this lunar eclipse. We are going to feel stabbed in the back, even possibly betrayed by some people who we've trusted, who we thought we could rely on, which could also give us this feeling of like, you know, can we trust what's on offer? Can we take what is being given to us? Because as well, in this particular card, he doesn't really know this person that well that's entered into his life, that's offering him this new opportunity. And so the Ten of Swords, as I was saying, it is that kind of ending of something. It is an abrupt ending of something as well. It's a finality. It's like there's no going back with the Ten of Swords. And that's kind of what the Fool energy there is saying to me as well, in reverse, twice in reverse. There is no going back. Until we deal with all the emotional purging, the toxins, the poisons, the toxic relationships, or things that we don't want to look at in ourselves, that we don't want to look at in the world, the way the world's corruption, from the highest levels down. And so this energy here also feels like that trickster energy. And of course we do have Mercury a retrograde at this time as well. Through all of this, just to add another layer. And Mercury can be the trickster energy. It can kind of promise like the con artist. So it's kind of saying on some level to me that we need to also look deeply into something before we just accept what we're being offered. But we do also need to bring something to an end here. There needs to be this closure, this cutting things out, this ending, this finality. And yeah, again, the Fool is kind of saying to me, like, you know, there is no going back. You can only move forward. And that's what I think this card here is saying as well. We can try to stay in that same energy. We can try to hold on to it. We can try to keep ourselves in that same like belief system even. Like stuck in the past, holding on to things tightly, not wanting things to change. But it's not gonna help us in the long run. I also feel that it's inevitable that we cannot stay in that energy forever. And also that we can't keep fooling ourselves or kidding ourselves. And we have the Page of Cups out again as well. So there's a lot of repeating cards in this reading. So with the Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Wands, the energy that the Page of Cups is over, where I feel that this is that kind of like withdrawing energy, kind of depletion of something, less rather than more of something. This Page of Cups is kind of saying, again, it's coming back to that sense of self-love and self-worth within all of this. And in carrying that cup as well, the cup being the emotions, it's kind of saying to me that, you know, this is more valuable than this here. That our emotions, our feelings are more important, they're more valuable, they have a value that money, you can't kind of put a price on it. You can't put a price on how we feel about something, even though we often try to. And there's kind of a connection of that's how we've got to where we are today. But it's like coming back to that page energy again, coming back to that kind of innocent, heart. And that the heart always knows. The heart always knows what it wants. The heart always knows what's right and what's wrong. And that we need to start listening to that part of ourselves, to our heart, to our connection with other people. I'm going to put another card with that one. It's almost like our emotions, or the cup that represents our heart and our love and that space of learning to love ourselves, self-love, self-worth. We've got the Page of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles again. The Page of Swords is in reverse, and so is the Seven of Pentacles. And with the Seven of Pentacles being in reverse here as well, it kind of brings in again that idea of there being less rather than more. It's the harvesting. And the Page of Swords in reverse as well is an energy of inquisitiveness, but it can be an inquisitiveness that kind of works against us, or not being inquisitive enough as well, possibly with the Page in reverse, because the Page of Swords needs to be inquisitive in order to learn and to grow. He needs to ask questions and find out about things and intellectually expand. But when he's in reverse, it's almost like he's being, it feels like just being either ignored or not being given all the information that he needs. Again, it's that sense of kind of not being clear about things. This could again be the Mercury retrograde, but there's a feeling of not being clear, something not being clear to us, something not fully like lacking information, lacking knowledge on something, lacking, again it comes down to this lack, this feeling of lack. But it's interesting that the Page of Cups is the only card here that's actually upright, and so it's kind of saying to me that that's the focus of attention. Is that love, which takes me back to the Raphael energy as well. Page of Cups has a pure, innocent. Heart. Okay. Oh. So over the top of the Hermit we have the Two of Swords in reverse, we have the Judgment, and we also have the Hierophant in reverse. So the Two of Swords, decisions, difficulties, strife, quarrels. Again, it kind of feels like that. What was I going to say? It feels like that energy of this Queen here, who's also in reverse. The Hermit, the Two of Swords, a sense of self-discovery. And then we've also got the Judgment card and the Hierophant card here as well. So all in reverse. They're all in reverse. So Two of Swords is coming through with this sense of, with this Judgment here as well. And the Hermit, it's like, it feels like not wanting to go within, not wanting to have to make difficult decisions that we're going to have to make. Again, it kind of feels like wanting to kind of pass it over to somebody else. There's difficult decisions that we're going to have to make. And with the Judgment card, it's like coming from a kind of higher realm, if you like something that we can't avoid. And it's interesting because I'm seeing a very similar kind of energy here with those two swords and that trumpet kind of pointing, both kind of pointing up the same way. Because the Judgment card is also about releasing those ghosts. I mean, it relates literally to the kind of judgment day, judging ourselves, releasing the past, letting things go. And the Hierophant, again, is that energy of kind of staying stuck in tradition, in the past. Tradition, faith, religion. And there's going to be some difficult decisions that we're going to have to make about moving forward, letting things go, what it is that we need to release in order to be able to move into the new. And here we have the Hermit as the only card that's upright as well. So that's interesting because the Hermit is kind of saying that, you know, it is about that self-discovery. Whereas the Hierophant is more about tradition, religion, being committed to our beliefs, The Hermit is searching for other things. The Hermit is searching within himself, whereas the Hierophant I always feel is much more a case of searching outside for answers. The Hermit is looking within for the answers and then guiding ourselves through what we discover and what we find and what feels right to us and what resonates for us and not for other people, what we're again told. It does feel like there's some big, I mean, it is a total lunar eclipse and there is big energy. It is big energy and it is about releasing the past and the shadows and the ghosts and the, I mean, it's Scorpio, Pluto energy, underworld energy. So I'm not at all surprised that it's come out in reverse as well. Because these may be things that we don't want to see, we don't want to acknowledge, we don't want to go within and find the reasons. Like, we've already kind of got our minds made up about things, we're already kind of set in how things have been or were, or the situation that we were in at the time, whether that's a relationship or a work experience or just how we responded to something. It's kind of like we've already set our minds in a certain way, and it's going to be very difficult to kind of accept that there's something else. That it wasn't necessarily how you thought it was, or there was other circumstances that you didn't take into consideration at the time. But the Judgment card would also kind of imply that there is this greater judgment. But at the end of the day, I always feel that that is judgment on ourselves. It's like we judge ourselves. Nobody else does that for us. Nobody else has the right to do that for us. It's something that, you know, if you're lying on your deathbed and you're looking back over your life, it's like, you know, you are the judge of your own actions at that particular time. Nobody else. It's not like anybody else is going to be ultimately, emotionally experiencing things the same way that you've experienced it. But there could also, with this Two of Swords, be a lot of confusion around all of this. And of course, Mercury is retrograde as well, so that's not helping the situation. So the Four of Pentacles. Why is the Four of Pentacles here? The Two of Cups. Again, another repeating card. With the Four of Pentacles, the Two of Cups is that energy, I feel, of holding on to that past, holding on to those things the way that they have been. But the Two of Cups is saying upright, because we've got it in reverse here, which I was feeling was kind of that victim energy. But the Two of Cups upright is saying that there is this new, more like equal, like an equality coming through here with this Two of Cups. Like recognizing understanding that all of the experiences from the past that we're still holding on to. Are just repeating patterns. We're just repeating the patterns. If we carry on holding on to the old, we will just kind of keep repeating the patterns. The conditioning. It's like those pentacles, I kind of see them as the conditioning. And it's letting them go in order for this new experience, this new growth in relationships, this new level. It's like it's a level, it feels like it's an upgrade, it's leveled up. There's a kind of recognition here of the soul of the people, of the person that you're with, or the individual, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just in intimate relationships, but kind of our connection as a whole. That we're all it feels like this understanding on some level that we're all here for the same reason. We're all journeying through this together, and we can understand and grow through our relationships. See each other like the mirror of each other's souls. And that's holding on to the past, or holding on to tradition as well. The tradition of relationships. Isn't necessarily right for everybody. Also, there's a message here as well of recognizing ourselves within the other, which is interesting because in this particular deck, or this card should I say, with the Four of Pentacles, the apprentice who was taught by the carpenter here outgrew him, so the pupil became the teacher, but he couldn't accept that. He couldn't accept that that was the case, that he was better than he was. So what I'm kind of getting here is that this younger version, this child here, his apprentice, because he has taught him, he actually has taken on part of his skill set, if you like, or his personality, or his energetically he has taken on part of him, so he is part of that. There is, yeah, okay, so energetically there is no separation between this energy, only he can't cope with that, he can't deal with that, so he wants to hold on and hoard what he feels comfortable with and what he believes is the right thing, or which is, like, you know, the tradition. And he's scared to he's scared to just accept that this apprentice here is very skillful and kind of naturally born to do what he's doing, if you like. It's like something that he naturally can do. So instead of then kind of learning from him as well as seeing himself as the pupil as well as the teacher, he cuts himself off, he shuts himself down, he stops himself from learning from this younger character here. And I feel that that's kind of this, in a similar kind of vein to relationships somehow. It's like we learn as much as we can learn from somebody, and then we have to kind of move on, or recognize that we are always both like the pupil and the teacher. Even in that relationship, there is this like what's the word I'm looking for here? Not rapport, not just rapport, but there's this symbiosis, this symbiotic relationship. And there is a soul connection. But there is also, because it's in our hopes and our fears, there is also, it's something that we also, like, again, cut off from. We can cut ourselves off from that and not allow ourselves to be happy in that as well, to not recognize what I'm getting here is to kind of not recognize that all is the same thing. All is the one love. But we've all got stories. We've all got suffering. We've all lived through experiences. And we have over the top of all of this energy here, the Emperor. And he's in reverse. And the Emperor can also be seen as a power energy. A kind of Pluto energy again, if you like, because the Emperor talks about coming into your own power. I also see it as Leo energy. A lot of people see it as Aries energy. But when it's in reverse, it's kind of saying that we're not necessarily always the ones in control. And we don't always need to be in control, but there's also this thing about like people who have power here as well. Again, because you've got this authority figure, Apollo, God there telling this young man what to do. Again, gender is immaterial. It doesn't make any difference whether it's masculine or feminine energies as such, because we all have both within us. But the Emperor energy is an energy of how can you put it? Leadership. I think is probably one of the best ways to put it. It is an energy of leadership, but when it's in reverse, it can be tyranny. It can be leadership that is over the top, over controlling, wanting to always have that power, have that control, and not necessarily have it over ourselves as well. That's another thing as well. When the Emperor's in reverse, it's about having it, that control and that power over others, rather than having it over ourselves. We don't see that as being a relevant thing to do. We see that as a waste of power. It's like that power is mine and I'm going to use it to abuse others, for instance. I'm going to use it to make myself more powerful, or this illusion of being more powerful. When in fact, they're often kind of very weak characters who have to kind of have that illusion of power to boost their cravings, to boost their insecurities. And this is kind of what we're dealing with at this time. It's kind of this sense of also a sense of kind of knowing ourselves as well. Know yourself is what I'm also getting from this Emperor energy. Know yourself. Don't allow others to tell you who you are. Like with this Five of Swords here. Don't allow others to dictate your path, your experience, your journey, particularly to healing. Because that Eight of Cups is also about healing as well. When you go down into the depths of the underworld, into the emotional graveyard, we have to face whatever's down there. We have to face ourselves. But many people will walk away from that, will turn away from that because they don't want to face what's down there. But this Hermit card is kind of saying that we don't really have a choice at this time. That we're all having to do the kind of inner work, if you like, on some level. Even if there is difficult choices to be made. And we'd rather not have to make them. Okay. So this is the card that I've pulled. I don't know what it is. I have seen it before, but I don't know exactly what it's called. So I'm going to have a look at the Inner Vision book, because this is the Inner Vision cards. Looks like a pregnant tree to me. Something being born, something coming out of a, yeah, there's that fire spirit, that elemental fire, that creative drive that I was talking about, that new creative vision, the creative vision. So let's see what the actual card itself talks about. Looks like it's on a beach as well, which is interesting because it's between the land and the water. The emotions and the physical. which is the Scorpio-Taurus axis as well, the water and the land. Here we go, a period of waiting. So a heavily pregnant tree dominates the scene. Above we have a butterfly creature, in the centre a larva, and below a little caterpillar, 3 stages of growth. There's a caterpillar there. In the centre of the scene, on the right hip of the tree, is a little creature looking out on what appears to be scaffolding. Notice the word old in scaffold. Very interesting. So where is that? Let me see. Ah, yeah. So I think that's there. A kind of like tiny, yeah, scaffold bridge type thing. So notice the word old in scaffold. Here we have the stages a caterpillar goes through in order to evolve into a butterfly. You can only climb so far, then a period of waiting has to take place before the transition is completed. At each stage there is no going back, which is interesting because that's exactly what I was saying earlier. There is no going back with this Ten of Swords energy here, and I'm also kind of feeling it with these energies here as well, as it was talking about the climb. So every moment of your growth is precious. Enjoy each moment at each stage of your being. In the picture, the butterfly looks down at the caterpillar and says, "Where you are, I once was, and where I am, you will one day be." The caterpillar makes his ascent up through the chrysalis stage, then onto the butterfly stage, and then further on back to the source depicted by a spiral in the sky. Spiral in the sky. This could lead back to no-thingness, or even on to another dimension, perhaps parallel to this one. Like the rivers eventually return to the ocean, everything eventually goes back to its source. A being cannot change really, only the mind-body units change or transform. The beach represents the sands of time, the waves on the beach, the ebb and flow of life itself. The little creature on the scaffolding watches the sun rise on a new day, or does it set in preparation for the big sleep of the nighttime gestation. Nothing is entirely what it seems. Life is but a fancy, but a dream. There are many wonderful analogies of the caterpillar and the butterfly, but very applicable here is one of Trinley's truisms. You have to know who Trinley is to understand this, but basically a caterpillar dies as a worm to be reborn as a butterfly. Birth is taking on a physical body, and death is the process of discarding it. It wasn't until this card was photocopied that it was pointed out to me that the tree in the card is androgyny, both male and female. It seems both masculine and feminine organs can be found a quarter of the way down the card, just above what might be considered the kneecaps of the tree. Oh yeah, definitely, if you look closely there, both male and female genitalia. And that's the thing about these cards, is there's so much in them that just kind of appeared, that weren't actually deliberately put there. The tree is a world within itself, as with all these cards and life in general. Could it be people within worlds, or worlds within people? It's kind of saying, I feel like, you know, the connection, the interconnection with everything. that we all kind of go through the same process. We all have history, we all have stories, we're all at possibly different levels of experience of this as well. Like some are just kind of awakening, some are awoken already, some are in the process of going into the awakening. But that's what's coming through for me here. There is this process. And I just find these cards absolutely amazing. There's just so many like things in there if you look at it. They're all hand painted as well. So many different little bits and pieces all over the place. They're just incredible. So the last card that I want to pull today, because I feel as though it's a big energy that we're dealing with. So I'm going to pull from the meditation cards. To see what card comes out for us here. So a card, whoops, nope, too many, I'm not taking all of you. A card for the lunar full moon eclipse energy in Scorpio. Full moon lunar eclipse energy in Scorpio. What is the message for us at this time, please? Source energy. I don't feel as though one's going to fall out, so I feel as I'm going to have to take one, just to pick one and see what it is that we get. So, let's just put them down. Interesting. So we get Chintamani Mahakala. Quite a fierce energy. And he's talking about realize that you are not rich unless everyone around you is also rich. In this tanka, Mahakala manifests with a ferocious smile as the guardian of wealth and prosperity. His message, genuine wealth, is achieved through generosity. His gift, compassionate vision as freedom from impoverishing attachments, which is interesting as well because we have that card here of attachment, holding on to things too tightly in order to not allow other things to change and grow. Giving away all that we achieve mentally, spiritually and materially, we are born anew in the Buddha field of vast abundance, free of avarice and fear. Chintamani Mahakala's realm of abundance will become your reality. Manifest as Chintamani Mahakala, granting wishes to every single being you meet on your path through life. This is true freedom and true wealth. So it's about wishing the best for everybody because everybody is a part of you and you are a part of everybody else. So everybody else's happiness also depends on your happiness in that sense. So I'm just going to pop that one up there. It is quite a ferocious looking energy there. And I'm going to finish the reading and say thank you very much for being here, for listening to my readings. If you have found it of any interest, if there's anything that you've learned from it or anything that you think might benefit somebody else, please could you like the video, thumbs it up for me, share my videos. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, could you also do that as well? There is a subscription button on the video for you to press and the bell comes up, etc, etc. The platform itself kind of looks for people to interact with the videos, and then the more people that interact with the video, the more it kind of thinks that people are actually interested in the channel, the more they're likely to then put it out there for other people to see it and to pick up on it as well. So which is what I'm trying to do. I know I haven't really put out a lot lately, and I am kind of focusing very much just on the full moons and the lunar the new moons, because at the moment I feel that the collective energy is really quite intense and important, and I just really want to get those messages out there on a bigger scale, if you like. So that's where my focus of attention is at this time. But I will go back to doing the individual readings as well, and that's something else that I do have a playlist for anybody who's interested. For the readings that I've already done, there's no time, there's no date, it is just a title, and if that resonates with you and if it feels like you're reading at that time, then it is your reading, regardless of when you listen to it, watch it. It will, if it resonates, then just take it as your reading. So with all that being said, I'm going to wish you all the best for this incredible, powerful, intense full lunar eclipse that's coming up in Scorpio. Best advice is to just allow whatever it is that comes up at this time to come up and to release it, let it go. Remember, it's not a part of you. It has been, but it is no longer relevant to who you are now. And in order to move forward and to move into the new, make space by letting what we no longer need, which is this Hermit energy here. That's what the Hermit is basically saying. Make space for the new to come in. And so I'm going to leave it there again and say thank you very much for watching, and take really good care of yourselves, and hopefully I will see you all again next time.